this week we are doing Uganda, and we are making a matoke, or something, or a shepherd's pie, more like. But instead of using potatoes, you're using plantains. Green plantains are used for like savory dishes, and then boiled and mashed, which is what we're going to do. And then sweet yellow plantains are used for like pastries and breakfast, that kind of thing. But we're also spicing our beef too. We're spicing our beef with coriander seed powder and curry powder. So how this is in East Africa, Uganda, and it has a Swahili culture because it's got from the Middle East the spices, and then the Africans, and then like African tropical style and deserts. Matoke is a 3-step process. At the end, we shred coconut on top and bake it. But we're going to mash the plantains with spinach and butter. But first, we're going to need to cook the onions and the beef with the spices. Alright, so first we need to cook the onions and beef. But first we're going to cook the onions. So we'll put these in our pot. I'm going to stir them up. Once they're ready, we're gonna take them out, put them aside, and cook the beef. And then we're gonna drain that, and then we're gonna drain the beef, then mix them together and add water to it. Alright, so now we finished our onions. Now we gotta cook our beef. So you can use either chunked or ground meat. Okay? Or you could use like lamb, mutton, or goat. Very common in African cuisine. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna mix this with the onions once it's ready. Alright, so now that our beef is drained and cooked, we're going to add our spices to it. And 2 teaspoons of curry powder, the coriander seeds, so the seed powder. So we want to cook them at a high temperature so the spices really release their flavor into the beef. Mix this up. Get it nice and cooking. It's getting a different color. If you look at it, it's getting a different color from the spices. Beef's kind of getting a different color from the spices flavor, which is good because you want as much flavor as we can get. Okay, so now this is good. We're going to add our onions to our stew. Mix them around a little. Get them in with the beef and spices. I'm cooking. And then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of water to this. I'm going to mix it in a little bit. And then we're going to cover it and let it sit for about a half hour. Alright, so these plantains are not your regular bananas. This is it, and they're a lot harder to break. So people usually think of plantains as being a Caribbean thing, but they're really grown in tropical areas and in Africa. And through the slave trade, that's how they got to the Caribbean seas. So we need to make these plantains like they were mashed potatoes. So we need to chop them and boil them before, and then mash them together, like you would make mashed potatoes. Alright, so we just put the chopped plantains into some salted water, and then we're just going to boil them. We're just going to boil them up. Alright, so these plantains are looking good and they're ready to mash, strain and mash. But we're just gonna strain them right now, and then we're gonna open up the coconut while these are cooling down. Alright, do not try opening coconut by yourself at home. But we have my special helper, my dad, to help me with this. Never do this alone. So first you're just gonna drill a nail in. You'll have to make two holes to get enough. Get this milk out. Okay, so now we need the coconut. Once again, don't try this at home. So keep your hands far away, and you gotta find the groove. We think it's right here. And then I'm just gonna smash it. Alright, so now that we've got the good crack, we're gonna use the flat side to just split it back. And here it is. Got the coconut open. And there was about to reach everything. Alright, so now we've got our coconut open and the coconut milk. We don't want this to go to waste, and this is so flavorful that we're going to put it into our stew. Okay, so now we want to get the coconut meat part, which is what we're going to use on the matoke. So that, you just want to either take like a vegetable peeler or something else and just peel it out. Okay, so these we boiled the plantains, but they're still really hard and almost impossible to mash. So instead, we're just going to food process them to make things easier. But we're also going to add 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Just pulse it a few times. Alright, so now that they're semi-chopped, so we're gonna try it. We're gonna try them. Alright, so that was pretty weird, but we need to bake it with coconut and our stew mixture, so I'm gonna give it another mix. I've decided that we want to put this plantain and spinach mixture on the bottom so it cooks more under the meat instead of above. Okay, so now that the spinach and the plantains are nice and flat, we want to try to just layer it with our stew and beef mixture before we bake it. Now that the beef is layered, we're going to sprinkle the coconut meat that we have, on top of our beef just before we bake it. So now that we've dotted it with some butter, added all our coconut, we are going to put it at the 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. Now that our Matoke Casserole is out of the oven and ready, we're ready to try it. This is a traditional African dish, a meat or bean stew served over a starch. And this starch is served like potatoes, but it's our starch, but plantains are more of a sweet potato or a yam instead of a potato. Instead of a regular potato you would eat. Well, not the greatest, but it's good to try new things.